those at home watching our council meeting on Rogers Television. It's a lovely night outside, and it's going to be a more lovely night inside too. So we did not have a closed council session this evening, and as you can see, it's not Mayor Body in the chair. He is on a well-deserved vacation for the next couple of weeks. So I'm sure with the councils and staff help, we will have a good 2 weeks while Ian's away. Is there no declaration? Additional items? Yes.
Madam Chair, I have one item of business relative to a proposed marketing initiative with respect to the transit system.
Thank you, Mr. Becky. Anyone else on staff? Any councillors? Councillor Kepke.
Just a reminder to the public on that issue.
Thank you. Councillor Lemon?
Yes, I have an item pertaining to...
Microphone, Councillor Lemon. Please speak into it.
Yeah. One item pertaining to some heritage retrieval, I guess I'll call it.
Anyone else? Okay. Does anyone wish to disclose a pecuniary interest? Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd be disclosing a pecuniary interest on bylaw 17E, that's 2017-133, as I own one of the units.
Okay, thank you. Confirmation of the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Thomas, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on July 17th, 2017, as printed, be adopted.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. Resolution moving council into committee of the whole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Thomas, that the City Council now go into the committee of the whole to consider public meetings, deputations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports, matters tabled, motions for which notice was previously given, and other business.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. There are no public meetings. However, we do have a deputation with us tonight. We welcome Mr. Kieran McClay and Ms. Madeline Torrey with us tonight, and we're going to make a couple of presentations. We also have with us our MPP and our MP, which are more than welcome. Mr. Walker and Mr. Miller, it's so nice to have you with us tonight. And I'm going to ask Councillor Beck to come with me, Chair of the 150th University. Should be facing the other way, I feel. Okay. It's a good thing you have some staff to write you some notes so that they keep you on track. Otherwise, I'd go on about the four of you ad nauseum, and they'd probably all get up and want to leave, as I know you all so well. Welcome to all our guests, family, friends, and those of you watching home on Rogers. As Deputy Mayor, I am privileged to be up here tonight to help recognize 4 deserving recipients of the Molson Canadian Community Leader Award. Throughout the summer, we have had wonderful festivities here, celebrations of our city to commemorate Canada's 150th and Owen Sound's 160th anniversary. So it's only fitting tonight that the City of Owen Sound and Molson Canadian honor 4 members of our community who have demonstrated leadership through their contribution, selfishness, and generosity. And of course, we're very pleased to have the Molson people with us. Kieran is... Pardon me? Oh, he's just coming in?
He's just
So we're to go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to call you up one by one. Okay. The first one is Blaine Courtney. Blaine? Blaine is well known in the community for his outstanding athletic accomplishments as a youth at West Hill. You wonder where we get all this information, don't you? At West Hill Secondary School from 1965 to 1971, which eventually paved his road to the Owen Sound Sports Hall of Fame in 2014. Blaine's accomplishments include 1970 Kawasa Track and Field Championship in the 4x100 relay. Blaine set Ontario and Canadian records in the medley relay for the 400, 800, 1200, and 1600 meter distances at the Cornelius Relays in Hamilton. Blaine won 5 district wrestling championships, culminating in a 1971 OFSA championship. That's OFSAA, but most of us know what that means. Star running back at the West Hill Raiders football team. Following his days as a high school sports star, Blaine became better known for his dedication and involvement in Owen Sound Emancipation Festival, which is North America's longest serving Emancipation Festival. Blaine has been involved with the festival for over 20 years, serving as board chair the last 6 years. The Emancipation Festival works in tandem with numerous community and cultural organizations to bring to light Owen Sound's rich history of the Underground Railway. The Emancipation Festival pays homage to those who paved the way for emancipation and an opportunity to celebrate with family, friends, and community, an important part of our history. So, Mr. Courtney Blaine, on behalf of the City of Owen Sound and Molson Canadian, congratulations and thank you for your outstanding contributions to our community. We have our 2 members of Parliament with us. Do you want
So if you just turn on.
Our second recipient this evening is Miss Verona Jackson. Verona. Verona is a 50-year resident of Owen Sound and has been an active member in our community since her arrival. A founding member of the Blue Water Association of Lifelong Learners, Ms. Jackson has been instrumental in ongoing cultural and creative experience which are relevant and meaningful to adults. Never one to let grass grow under her feet, Verona Jackson has also been active in fundraising efforts for such groups as CNIB, Multiple Sclerosis, VON, chair of numerous Heart and Stroke Foundation activities, and you also helped raise money for our physician family recruitment team too. Ms. Jackson, ever fond of children, was also the founding member of her local chapter of Big Sisters. Together with her husband Ovid, created the Ovid and Verona Jackson Job Creation and Innovation Fund through the Community Foundation of Grey Bruce. Verona, on behalf of the City of Owen Sound and Molson's, congratulations.
Thank you, Irene. May I say
So many sitting ducks, I have to say a few words. Okay. And this is nerve-wracking. I don't usually feel this caught up, and I think it's because I feel that I don't know why really I was chosen. And when the gentleman phoned from Molson in Toronto, I didn't believe him, and I thought what would happen would be a follow-up of some survey or the other. So I literally didn't think of it for 2 weeks. I thought, no, this is, somebody's yanking my chain here. So, and then a dear friend said he'd had the call, and yes, it was legit. So I thought, okay. And I want to thank the mayor and council. It's not easy to select 4 people from all the hundreds of people in this community who daily do wonderful things. This, for a little community, is absolutely enriched, and it's only because of the people who volunteer. I have to tell you that. I remember my husband once saying to me that I was asking why they couldn't put more money into healthcare and recruitment of family doctors, and he said, the government can't pay for everything, and we can't afford the number of hours that volunteers do. So I thought, well, I'll redouble my hours for whomever couldn't step up to that. I am honored to be included with these 3 gentlemen because I do know them very well, and I know how much work they do ongoing in this community. And so you've actually elevated me by allowing me to be part of your group, I have to say. You know, we never accomplish citizenship by ourselves. And all that the 4 of us have done, any one of these gentlemen and myself would say to you, we had to have help. And almost from the beginning, I think I was doing, well, the only sort of female-related thing I've done in all my fundraising and help, and that was for heart and stroke disease in women, the mother-daughter walk, simply because there was such a misconception for women going to their doctors and being sent home with medication or prescriptions for heartburn, when indeed there were the beginnings of, they didn't know. I mean, I'm not blaming anyone here. So I thought we obviously needed to have more word out there, and that did accomplish some good, I think, for a community. They didn't want to give us that walk, by the way, the head office in Toronto, because we're a little low in sound. However, we prevailed on them, and in the first year, we raised the grand sum of $3,000, the next year 6, and the next year 12, and following that about 40. So I think men came out and walked with women. I think I know that. And I think overall, we all started to see that this was an initiative that needed to put some funding into helping doctors with that part of assisting women, and women to understand that when you're running around trying to do 10 things around Christmas and get everything just right, that if there is a burning, you don't get the same flames the men do. I mean, they're bigger than we are, right? So we don't get all those huge things running, pains up and down the arms, that you are to be aware that if it does not go away, insist on your doctor having a look, checking your hearts, because it's obviously necessary, okay? I've had 2 young friends who went through that and didn't make it. Anyway, I'm going to mention just 2 names, Judy Porteous and Susan Kirk, because from almost the start of what I was doing, these were 2 people I reached out to because I didn't know them personally, but people had said, you know, they are really good with organizing, and certainly if you get Susan Kirk, you will also get Paul Kirk, which turned out to be the case, and he's begged me not to ask his wife to do anything else because he is a de facto member. We still meet once a month out at the Dragonfly Cafe there just outside Chatsworth. We meet once a month for brekkie. They have to phone and get me up early because I'm long since retired. I'm in my late 70s, so they have to wake me up in the morning. I don't just pop out of bed anymore, you know. And they always look to see if I have a notebook or a little slider or something. You have to go empty-handed, they say, because you're not luring us into anything else. So I don't have a folder tonight. My dad died very young, and I was his oldest child. He was 41 when he died. The Asian flu swept through Guyana, British Guyana, where I'm from, and he was one of the 1,000 people who lost their lives. But for the short time he was there, there were many things he taught me. Some silly stuff like women should not cross their legs like men because they'll get varicose veins. I don't know about that. I don't do it because he said, and Lila's quitting. Okay, but he did say that one thing that I think has been a guide for me through years, I'm almost done, guys. I'm taking Blaine's minutes. And that is that if someone asks you to do something, you should be, if you are going to do it willingly. If you don't want to do it, just find a nice way, maybe not this time, later on, whatever the reason is. Because if you spend 10 minutes saying all the reasons why, oh, I don't want to do it, oh, this or that, but you end up doing it anyway, right? Doing that favor, that person will not remember that you did say yes, but will remember how you made him or her feel before you actually said yes. So I've always taken that as a lesson to heart. I'm almost done.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Give everybody equal time. so-
No, I have double time. Anyway, I really am close to the end, and I just wanted to say thank you because I'm accepting this on behalf of all those of you who have done mammoth things, haven't received a call. Your turn is coming, and I am accepting this tonight on your behalf. And if there's beer in there, you can't have that. It's summer. I like beer in summer. So thank you very much, and thank you.
Would you like to come up and say a few words? Our third recipient is Lyle Love. Now, come on up, Lyle. Yes. So we welcome you back. A former city manager, Mr. Love is described by his good friend Gary Wood, who is in the audience, as one of our most outstanding citizens and one of the most giving people of his time and energy. Lyle was a founding member of the Community Foundation of Grey Bruce and served on the board for many years. Lyle was the lead volunteer for the public fundraising campaign for Grey Roots Museum and Archives and was instrumental in the large fundraising goal being achieved. A good neighbor and friend, Mr. Love has devoted many hours at the Knox Presbyterian Church to assist fellow church members and has given his time to countless other programs and charities. Most notable is Mr. Love's 25-year involvement with the Scenic Order of Good Cheer and their numerous projects benefiting the city and our residents. Most recently, Mr. Love and other members of the Order of Good Cheer were on hand at Kelso Beach Park for the grand opening of the Good Cheer Washroom and Change Room. And if you haven't had a chance to see that yet, you should go down and have a look. It's pretty nice. Mr. Love's contribution to the city go much further than time we have here tonight. But you have time to speak.
As long as it's Corona.
On behalf of the city, I congratulate you very much.
Thank you
And
very
thank
much.
you for everything you've done.
Deputy Mayor, pleasure. Just want to show my friends I have a few notes. No names are on it though. But I want to thank the
150 and the 160 committees for giving me a nomination, and thank council for accepting their recommendation. I'm really honored to receive this award, and I want to make it clear right off the bat, it's not a Love Award, it's for all the volunteers that I've had the pleasure of working with. Volunteers have really contributed greatly to Owen Sound area, very, very much so. The ones I've been involved with, I'll briefly say, I'll give you a couple of comments on it. There's the Community Foundation, Grey Bruce. At one time was a community foundation for Owen Sound. And Over Jackson, who's in our audience, are you listening over?
Yes. I always listen to your mind.
Over Jackson and myself are credited with the starting of the foundation. And it was a jerky start. We had no money, just volunteers. And in order to raise money to pay office expenses, some people would put on a dinner and charge people to come to their house, Verona. So we have some money to pay some bills. And even back in October 1993, we put through the charter for the Community Foundation, and we didn't have any money to register the document. So all of us on the board at that time, we had to give a loan to the foundation of $50. I still have the note. So anyway, you see what happened to the Community Foundation? It has assets now around $16 million, and at the last the granting process, they gave out $640,000 to community groups to do good things in their community. But they got some good people leading it, and they got a lot of volunteers. The other was Grey Roots. Grey Roots, you all know, was started by Grey County. It's for the history of Grey County and a museum and archives. And I got a title there called, what was my title? My title was Volunteer Fundraiser Chair. That's it. I'm not too sure if the word volunteer applied, but anyway, that's what it was. And Grey County Council mandated that we had to go and raise $1 million. $1 million was a lot of money then, it's a lot of money now. But anyway, the community came forward with it, and we received all kinds of contributions. The Plowing Match people gave all the profits towards the Grey Roots, and we just about made it. Not quite, but it was close enough that Grey County Council said, your objective has been achieved. There's another group I'm involved with, and they're a noisy bunch, and that's the Scenic City Order of Good Cheer. And I'm very pleased to see you guys here. I'm very, very happy for that. But it goes without saying what the Order of Good Cheer has done for the city of Owen Sound and area. All the various projects, and I won't list them all. I think most of the council knows what the projects have been. But over the years, the Good Cheer guys have raised $1.5 million and put it all back into the community. And it's a real great achievement. And they're not done yet. We're going to have another project on the table shortly. The other group I'm involved with is the Silver Seas, and they also have a number of volunteers. They have about 100 members, and they are into greeting people at the hospital. They have wheels and meals. We have a male choir that goes around singing in the various homes. And then we have the breakfast program. And at 3 elementary schools, so we feed children their breakfast. Another guy and myself, we give the breakfast to between 60 and 80 kids up at Keppel Sarawak School every Friday. So there's another group that has a lot of volunteers in our community. So I salute all the volunteers, and I accept this reward actually on their behalf. So So that's my comments at Deputy Mayor. And this particular box from Bolton, my understanding there's some coupons in there. Coupons for all these people here. One year's supply of Bolton. Thank you very much. I say the coupons are in here. Okay.
Our final recipient, but certainly not in our program, Fred Wallace. Come on, Fred. Nobody is more synonymous with local sports or radio than Fred Wallace. Fred has spent over 30 years at Bayshore Broadcasting, and as other radio personalities came and went over the time, you stayed right here with us, Fred, and for that we love you. Thank you. He has been here during some of our lowest lows, but our highest highs. The voice of the Owen Sound Attack, Fred can also be heard at almost any other sporting event, from lacrosse to fastball, minor hockey, and cross country. If there is a sporting or community event, Fred has been there. The Owen Sound Attack winning the 2011 OHL Championship is Fred's #1 sport moment. However, his 2014 induction into the Sports Hall of Fame would rank a close to, right? Yeah. Fred is a builder of our community, a mentor to those who have worked with him, and a gentleman and friend to all. But Fred, could you turn that music down at the Bayshore for the hockey game a little bit? Yeah, okay. Fred, on behalf of the city and Molson Canadian, these two young people here, congratulations and thank you for all you've done for us.
Thank you very much, Arlene. I'll be a little longer than Blaine and a little shorter than Verona. I want to thank Molson and Molson Canadian for the honor. I think I am the last person in Owen Sound to consume Golden, and so as a result, that's what I thought the award was originally. But I am a consumer of the product, so thank you, Molson's. Marion, I want to thank you and your committee for nominating me, and also I want to thank Brian O'Leary. This is the second time, I think, that I got a good award from Brian O'Leary. In the late 90s, I got an award from the OHA, so thank you very much. Thank you to Council for voting, and also it's an honor to be included with this group of people. I've known all of you for some 30 years, and it's really an honor. Thank you.
There we go.
Our MP, Mr. Bill Walker, is going to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Arlene. Truly a pleasure to be here. These four people, without saying, everyone knows you. They know what you've contributed to our community. You are the epitome of what community is. You bring the spirit, the passion, and the care for your community. And I truly believe you embody that every volunteer in Owen Sound. We can only present 4 tonight, but you embody the spirit and the passion of every single volunteer out there. To you and to your family, to your spouses most importantly, who give you to us all the time you contribute. Thank you so much, and all the very best.
Well, thanks very much. It's been quite some time since I appeared at a Owen Sound City Council meeting, but this is truly a great event tonight, and certainly being able to honor four peers of the community, I think is something that I'm very honored to be part of. And Verona, you're synonymous with work in many organizations, and that we're talked about tonight, and thank you very much for that. Lyle, when I was at Grey County and was warden, worked with you when money was being raised for Grey County, and of course you're, I think probably your most famous one, or at least the one that everybody in the community I know is aware of, is your work with Sealing City Order and Good Cheer and all the good things that you do. And to you and their members, thank you very much for that. And to Blaine, I went to Wharton High School and I was on the wrestling team there, and we were in a little different weight class, but I'm glad I didn't have to wrestle. I'm glad I didn't have to wrestle them back then. And, in fact, I don't think I'd want to wrestle Blaine today, but Blaine, well done. You were just a super athlete, and of course your work with Emancipation event every year is terrific. So thank you for that, and congratulations. And lastly, my good friend Fred Wallace. All's been said that can be said about Fred, and you know, a lot of people think it's just about sports with Fred, but it goes deeper in the community than that, as we all know. And further to the Molson Award that Fred and the others have got tonight, Fred was nominated for Canada 150 Award as well, and I've been honored to be asked tonight to present this to him. And Fred, if you would come up here. And while the one thing that I want to hear out of Fred Wallace's mouth the most is next May, when he announces that the Owen Sound Attack won the Memorial Cup. So anyway, time will tell. But Fred, this is a certificate of appreciation proudly presented to Fred Wallace in recognition of outstanding contributions made to our community as Canada celebrates its 150th anniversary of Confederation. There's also, I know you're not a big one for medals, but there's a special medal here that I am very proud to accept, or to present to you, Fred, and congratulations.
Oh, okay, all right. Larry, can you come up here?
Come on, Larry.
And Bill. Please.
Okay. We are down to public question period. If anyone in the audience has a question they would like to ask council. If not, this might be an opportunity for those who do not wish to stay for the entire meeting to vacate. However, you're more than welcome to stay.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for sitting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
council has the correspondence package. Is there anything in there anyone wishes to raise at this time? Okay, we'll move on to reports. We have a verbal report from the Director of Community Services, Cheryl Brine, Jane Phillips, Deb Blackshaw, Downtown Revitalization Project Wrap-Up. Ms. Coulter?
Okay, thank you. Certainly pleased to be here tonight with Cheryl Brine and Deb, and bringing regrets from Jane to present the final wrap-up of the Downtown Revitalization Project. Many of you have seen it a few times, so tonight we're going to focus on the actions that are coming out of the project. So the Downtown Revitalization Project is a program designed by OMAFRA, and it's a partnership between OMAFRA, Employment Ontario, the DIA, the Business Enterprise Centre, and the City of Owen Sound. And it really is easy to work with partners who share the vision for a downtown that's vibrant. And I would mention that Sarah Cameron was a big part of our program, hired on an Employment Ontario grant, a job creation partnership, and it's geared to give people an opportunity to have some job experience. And Sarah's got a full-time job and isn't here tonight, so I just would like to acknowledge the work that Sarah did on the project. In terms of today, we'll look at some quick background, but as I've mentioned, we'll focus on the areas for action. I would note that the full studies are available on our website and also on the DIA website. So we've been through quite a process. We really got things started at a kickoff meeting in June of 2016 with our launch partners. And then last Friday, we had a presentation almost going full circle from June of 2016 to the stakeholders. So in the presentation tonight, in the action charts, you'll see some text in red, and those were things that were added last Friday. And you'll also see some blue hearts. And we asked the participants on Friday to prioritize the actions, and the 3 with the hearts are the 3 highest priority actions. So in terms of the key deliverables, the project had 4 parts: the Business and Landlord Survey, Customer of Origin Survey, the Market Area Data Report, as well as the Resident Survey. And all of these things together, we looked for those common themes and threads that we were seeing between the pieces of information. With that, we then put the Economic Development Committee to work, and again last Friday with our stakeholders to say, based on these themes, what are the actions? So those common threads, and probably not a surprise, but sometimes nice to have things confirmed. Issues for the downtown, things that we were seeing, some of these common themes: parking issues, issues related to an aging population, a desire for more restaurants, bars, and cafes, unique businesses and services downtown, snow removal, and issues around public and private maintenance. So really the most important part is the actions. So the market area data reports provided some really important data on what businesses Owen Sound can support. So it's not the be-all and the end-all. You would want to consider that market data in conjunction with other research that a potential business person was doing. But this data is really helpful for Jane as she sits down, or anyone else who's considering opening a small business, and gives them information that will be helpful. Right now, Jane and a committee member are working to just go over and refine that data a little bit more. So that was one of the things that got a blue heart, and telling those stories. So the next action is the experience of local stores and what has made them thrive. So looking for success stories, and added Friday was look for stories of overcoming some challenges too. So that's a project that the city would try to do together with our partners over the next 12 months, and maybe some real synergy between that project and our Millennialpreneur project. So in terms of private maintenance issues, the actions here included promoting the facade program, municipal involvement in building renewal, and telling the story. So the CP station was a great example of that. An idea around a golden broom, so giving an award or trophy for businesses who have a well-maintained building, and maybe doing that in partnership with the DIA and the Chamber. And then added on Friday was this idea of increasing the facade budget overall, and also the amount per facade, and find a way to enforce no residential garbage in municipal receptacles downtown. In terms of parking, consider expansion of the no-charge parking area, and this is an area where the city is working on preparing a report, and it did get a blue heart as one of the priorities. So other actions included parking signage, revisiting enforcement, exploring areas for employees to park, communication around parking and changing attitudes and perception about parking, and installing downtown maps and signage so people know where they are and where they can find parking. Then on to public maintenance issues. So the downtown lights, poles, fences, and tree grates, you may have noticed we've made some huge gains here since this issue was raised. The light poles downtown have been painted, the tree grates replaced, and it makes the downtown look a lot spiffier as you're enjoying time down there. We also have been setting aside money in our capital budget into a reserve for the replacement of those heritage lights eventually. Harrison Park, something that came through in the study over and over, but just the importance of promoting the park as a gem and making sure that we're investing in the park so that it continues to be that great asset that it is. So things like the road reconstruction that are planned, the pool redevelopment are huge there. In terms of things that were added, changing the perception about people who are downtown, and impressing on people that there are few actual crimes, and recognize that people are all the same whether you're in the suburbs or downtown. And one that I was excited to see come up out on top, the Downtown River Precinct. So lots of support for that project, and certainly the city, together with the DA and all our stakeholders downtown, from the farmers market to every business and property owner and resident down there, will be an important part of making sure that that moves forward and is a huge positive for the city. So tonight, we would just ask that Council receive the downtown revitalization and the recommendations and actions that are contained in the study if there are no other questions.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody get a copy of that report? Is there copies of that report for council?
The action charts, save and accept the stuff that was added on Friday, were in the economic development minutes the last time, but we can certainly get it all out to council with the links to the full studies.
Okay. All right, are there any questions? Richard?
Move that recommendation, Your Worship.
Oh, thank you very much. Councillor Thomas? Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. The next report is report 17076, Deputy Kirk, please, Bree.
Thanks to you, Madam Chair. The 2017 Council Remuneration Committee consisted of Paul Foster, who was the chair, Garth Pierce, who was the vice chair, Francesca Dobbin, Bob Garnett, and Bob Hope. The committee met on March 13th, May 24th, and June 13th. Attached to this report is the recommendations from the 2017 Council Remuneration Committee. The chair of the committee is here and willing to present the recommendations or answer any questions you might have. I'd like to suggest that Council first receive my report for information purposes and then vote on the recommendations provided by the committee.
Thank you, Brianna. So the report is there. Is there a mover for the report received? Councillor Kempke, thank you.
I'll move that the report be received.
Thank you. Are there any questions that anyone wishes to raise, or would you like to speak to the chair of the committee? Councillor Leary.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to thank Bob Garnett, Bob Hope, and in the audience tonight, Garth Pierce, Francesca Dobbin, and Paul Foster for your time and effort through this. Obviously, this is something that Council shouldn't be dealing with, other than the going with the recommendation. So thanks very much for everything you did.
Did we vote? All those in favor of then that report then? Yeah, there was a motion. Just to receive it. No. I know. Do you want to have Mr. Foster come up? Do you want to come up to the podium in case, and present the recommendations to us? Welcome, and thank you too on behalf of council for your work.
No problem, Your Worship, members of council. Just want to lead in with the supporting document. So the committee took a look at the City of Owen Sound strategic plan in 2020, making our vision clear, as well as your mission statement, which is strengthening our community through sound leadership. Through that, the committee established some guiding principles around remuneration. The first one is to create an environment which attracts talented candidates with sound leadership skills and the willingness to contribute to the community. And the second one, be at a level that does not negatively impact family income or be a barrier to running to council. So our first recommendation in front of you tonight is that the council remuneration be increased to $21,634.73 per year. The deputy mayor remuneration be increased to $24,879.93 per year, which reflects the 15% increase from the councillor base remuneration in accordance to resolution that had been previously passed by council, and that the mayor remuneration be set at $48,158.59, and that would be effective January 1st, 2018. And the second part of that is further adjustments to the mayor, deputy mayor, and council remuneration be no less than the non-union wage increase, and that these increases do not get deferred at budget time. And the second recommendation is that Council Remuneration Committee recommends that the council establish the next remuneration committee midway through the next cycle term. So based on the guiding principles, we took a look at the comparators. So we looked at a number of Grey County comparators, as well as outside of Grey County. We looked at Brockville, Collingwood, Meaford, Orangeville, Orillia, and Stratford as benchmarks for salary. And taking a look at those, the committee established that the current remuneration rate does not align with our guiding principles as established by the committee, and doesn't meet the stated terms of reference in that the current remuneration is not a fair compensation for the duties. The second level of remuneration, the current remuneration for mayor, deputy mayor, and council are still lagging behind the base communities that we benchmarked, and we felt that this gap in remuneration was a legacy issue. So the last remuneration committee in 2014 made some recommendations to increase remuneration, and that work was accepted, and that was great, but it still wasn't enough to bring us up to our comparable municipalities. We really wanted to stress through the committee that even though at times council wants to show leadership and may want to defer remuneration rates, that we want to ensure that remuneration rates are not deferred, that they continue. It sets a foundation for future councils, and it ensures that there is a level of remuneration that's fair and will attract talent for the city. We did take a look at some of the recommendations coming out of the 2014 report. One was when we ended the per diem, so we went to just a standard remuneration rate without the per diems per attending the meetings. We looked at the various meetings that were attended by council, and I just let you know that committee did recognize the outstanding efforts that council does make, not only sitting here at council meetings, but the numerous committee meetings that you guys attend and participate on, and the attendance was perfect. So the committee did want to recognize the significant efforts put out by councillors. And last, wanted to point out that council is no different from the hundreds of volunteers that support our city. And it was kind of neat to see the volunteer awards tonight and all the efforts and how everyone referred to what great citizens we have. Because really, your seats are filled, you guys are citizens, and your seats are filled by citizens who have saw a need for the city and thought, hey, I can make a difference, and put their name forward and voluntarily run for these positions. So it's incumbent on us that we support the position, that the remuneration is fair, and that we pass that remuneration on to the following councils as they come on. And the last in the report is just a chart that shows the various remuneration rates through the communities that we benchmark. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much, Paul. Any questions? Comments? Scott?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Foster, and to the committee for the work that you have done. This is a sensitive topic, and you've shown facts very well. My question is, did you have a number where you adjusted what the current pay is for councillors and mayor, just with the cost of living increase, and what that would be, as to compare with what the recommendation is?
No, I don't have that in front of me tonight. What we did look at is the comparatives that are in front of you, and those were the 2016 remuneration rates that we were basing it on. And based on that legacy gap, even back in 2016, remuneration rates for council were not where they should have been. And so we just based our recommendation off the 2016 rates.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Someone move the recommendations? Here, Councillor Lemon, you're moving all through, both of them, three of them, recommendation 1 and 2.
I feel they've done a lot
1, 2,
of,
and 1 and 2.
yeah, done a lot of work on this. I think it's a fair and unbiased look at it because we're using comparators of a similar size, and I congratulate you on the job well done.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Gregg.
Well, I got a couple points. I would have happily voted on each of the recommendations individually, but myself, I just think that our city's got more in common with some of these cities on this matrix or list of comparators. I think we're very much like Brockville, a city that just is losing a big manufacturing. I think P&G is closing a big plant there, and I mean, it's all well and great to want to bring us up to what Stratford or Orangeville are making, but they have different economic circumstances right now. Their cities are not in this. I mean, they're in better economic shape. So I'm happy with looking at what council's getting paid last year with a cost of living increase. That's something that I know a neighboring municipality did back in January this year, was just the 1.5 or 1.7 that the COLA was, because I think that recognizes truly the challenges that are in front of us in Owen Sound. Yet they're still uniquely different from Stratford and Orangeville, which are growing at different rates, that have different levels of commercial activity, industrial growth going on. You just have to go through Stratford's industrial complex. They're benefiting because they're on the 40, they're close to the major highways. I think the COLA is fine. I mean, yeah, we all take a pay decrease, literally, for what we could be making at our own jobs to be here, but I think I do it out of a passion to contribute, not that it has to be for a set amount of money. And I think just the regular COLA increase would be more cognizant of the challenges in front of us every budget.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are you making a recommendation to that, or are you just?
I wonder, would the mover move those individually? And the only reason I ask that is I know how hard our current mayor is working at attending all these events, which is why I thought, I would happily vote on these individually.
Councillor Lemon, do you want to split them, or do you want to vote them as one?
Well, I can understand the point of view of splitting them up, but I also know that a lot of councillors do an awful lot of work as well. And Owen Sound's remuneration for council, if you go way back, has increased at a rate well below the inflation rate. I can remember at one time we took a cut, and it took us almost 8 years to get that back. I don't think this is outrageous.
Councillor, am I just asking you, do you want to split them?
No, I'd like to leave them together because I think they're all intertwined.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the recommendation as it stands?
Recorded vote, please.
Pardon me?
Could we have a recorded vote, please?
Yes, we can have a recorded vote. The deputy clerk will call the vote.
Just to be clear, we're voting on recommendation number 1 that was provided?
We're voting on both recommendation
Yes, all
1
three.
and recommendation 2.
Right. Councillor Dodd.
In favor?
Councillor Gregg.
Against?
Councillor Kepke. Councillor Lemon.
In favor?
Councillor O'Leary.
In favor.
Councillor Thomas.
In favor?
Deputy Mayor Wright.
In favor.
Motion is carried with 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Foster and your committee. Moving on now to the report 079 fire bylaw, and I invite the chief to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to bring forward the staff report tonight, updating the fire bylaw. And the recommendation is that in consideration of staff report CR 17079, respecting the fire bylaw, City Council adopt the fire bylaw as set out. And the strategy behind this is reviewing bylaws goes by the city's vision, Owen Sound, where you want to live. And in the background, the city's open air burning bylaw was passed in 2007. The bylaw contains general burning regulations as well as specific regulations for 3 types of fires. And that was large fires that needed an actual permit, fires for cooking food, and fires in outdoor wood burning appliances. On May 9th of 2017, the Corporate Services Committee received a report respecting a draft bylaw and recommended that City Council initiate a public consultation process for the proposed bylaw without the proposed inspection fee for recreational fires. On May 29th, City Council directed staff to begin the public consultation process consisting of an online paper survey that was available during the month of June. This report has been prepared to describe the results of the public survey, the changes made to the draft fire bylaw from actual feedback. In the survey, the benefits of a survey for gathering public feedback is it shows general areas of agreement or disagreement with the proposal, and it allows the public to provide comments on their answer or to provide general comments. The drawbacks of a survey like this are that it may not be a fair representation of all of the community. It appears some people may have completed the survey more than once. However, due to the number of responses, this should have little impact on the final results. Staff have provided a summary of the nature of comments for 2 questions where the survey did not get an answer and comments on the same question. The results of the survey are detailed in attachment 2. The general themes of comments have been summarized in number 3. And staff have provided answers to questions that were asked in the survey in number 4. The survey shows a high level of interest in rules surrounding recreational fires with over 675 people actually completing the survey. Staff also suggests that there is a strong support for a recreational fire bylaw, with over 95% support for rules related to having a way to extinguish a fire and limiting of burning garbage and other toxic materials. There was less clear support for other rules, such as the proposed time for cooking fires, which was about 50-50. For those who did not support the rules, most people said the rule was too restrictive, and the bylaw should not allow cooking breakfast prior to 11 a.m., while some others thought it should be more restrictive so people can put out their laundry to dry in the afternoon or open their windows at night for fresh air. A smaller number of commentators suggested that there should be no time of day restrictions on cooking fires, or that they should be aligned with the hours in the noise bylaw. The changes made to the fire bylaw as set out in this report attempt to balance these different priorities, values, and expectations. Listed below are changes that were made from the version that was presented in May following council and community feedback. The proposed $30 inspection fee for recreational fires, this fee was directed by corporate services and it was taken out. Any issues will be addressed on a complaint basis by on-duty fire crews. There was an adding of an exemption for home smokers. There were many questions about how food smokers would be treated under this bylaw, and staff recommending providing an exemption for smokers as they are very low risk. Homemade cooking device size, there were a number of comments which said that homemade cooking devices should be allowed to be larger than 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters and not necessarily square. The draft bylaws suggest as allowing the 0.46 square meters with no limit on length and width as long as it complies with the maximum square footage. Homemade cooking device setback, a number of responses suggested that homemade barbecues should be allowed to be closer to property lines and combustibles. The draft bylaw has been revised to allow for homemade barbecues to be 1 meter from property lines and combustibles. The restriction on hours of cooking fires was removed to allow for cooking at any time of the day. The restriction on hours of recreational fires was changed from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. Ceremonial fire section was revised to allow for ceremonial and special purpose fires to be allowed at the discretion of the fire chief or city council in writing. And staff note that it is helpful to remember that the fire bylaw is primarily enforced on a complaint basis. If garbage or toxic materials are being burned, they are safety concerns or a fire is causing a nuisance. Residents may call the non-emergency number at the fire hall, or they can call 911. So what we have done, we have actually broken this down into two categories, and we have one of them named as cooking fires. And again, there's no notice needed, but what we have said for cooking fires, the fuel that will be used will be either briquettes or charcoal only. The container type and size will be manufactured for cooking with fire contained or enclosed on all sides by non-combustible and less than 0.46 square meters. The flame height we have down to 6 inches or 15 centimeters. The setbacks we have as per manufacturer specs, or 1 meter or 3 meters from lot line or combustibles. And the time of day, there's no limitations on that. And the conditions when they won't be allowed is during smog alert or any fire ban, and the monitoring, we want it monitored by a person competent on the property. The second designation we have is recreational fires, and again, there's no notice needed. The fuel needs to be clean, dry wood only. The container type manufactured for recreational with fire contained or enclosed on all sides by non-combustibles and 0.46 square meters in size. The flame height, we have 18 inches or 45 centimeters. The setbacks per manufacturer specs, or 3 meters from the lot line, with the manufacturer specs or 6 meters from the property line. The time of day, we have limited from 2 p.m. till 2 a.m. and conditions where they're not allowed, again, is smog alert, fire ban, fog, rain, or where wind may cause the fire to spread. And monitoring, we'd like it constantly monitored with somebody able to see it at all times. There will be minimal financial implications with the changes in permits and fees recommended. In 2016, staff issued approximately $100 in fire permits, and staff are recommending no longer issuing these permits. There will be no revenue generated from inspection fees for recreational fire, since council directed that this fee be taken out. And the strategy here is staff created a page on the city's website for this project, issued news releases, social media posts, and story in the Sun-Times and other media outlets. The communication efforts were assisted with local media coverage. If the fire bylaw is approved, it will be posted on the city's website, and additional education will be handed out. In consultation, we have a list here that the city got public feedback by way of the survey, and 3 paper surveys and 672 online surveys were actually filled out, and the following lists all the staff members in the city that actually commented. Any questions on that?
Councillor Kempton. Thank you. My questions are mainly on recreational fires. And the fuel that's to be used is clean dry wood only, you're indicating. So if someone cuts down branches from their trees or brush in their area, that's not a product they should be
Nope.
burning in their
They
recreational fire.
They can burn it as long as they wait till it dries, and then they can burn it in a recreational fire as long as the recreational fire is limited to the size that we have set up.
So how long would it normally take tree branches to dry then?
And depending on the size, approximately 1 year.
1 year. Okay. 18 inches tall for a flame, to me, is a little bit high in some
And
backyards, but that's what you've approved, that's fine. I'm confused on the setbacks. The manufacturer's instructions, is that a fireplace that you would buy, and then the other one is a man-made fireplace?
Right, so if you have one that's actually manufactured, and whoever manufactures it has it covered by whether it's CSA or whatever, and the recommendation setbacks are whatever they have listed, I don't think we can overrule that.
So
to a
the
certain extent.
one that's 6 meters or 19 feet from the property line or combustible material is a tire ring or something like
And
that?
again, or
people-
that is a recreational fire where you're
Yes.
burning wood. And the idea of that is to keep it far enough away from the property line, any smoke coming off it will not be bothering the neighbors.
Okay, the 2 p.m. to 2 a.m., is there a change there, or has it always been?
We put the recommendation to corporate service, I believe, to 3, and it was brought back to 2.
Okay, the conditions where they're prohibited, how are people notified that they should not be burning? Is it through the radio?
We will put something out on the website or on the radio. Last year, we put out last year or the year before, an actual fire ban when it was so dry.
Okay,
We put the
and
information out.
my last question is on enforcement. If someone is not happy with this, with a neighbor not complying to the bylaw, do they call bylaw enforcement or do they call the fire department?
And again, if it's a smoke, they have been calling the fire department, and we go up, and even if it's meeting the setbacks, if the smoke is bothering a neighbor, we ask them to either put the fire out, or we use common sense, hopefully, don't put any more wood on the fire.
But is the fire department capable of issuing an offense?
They can, and to my knowledge, one has never, ever been handed out by the fire department.
Thank you. Councillor Newman.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. The one area, and I thought about this after looking at the bylaw a second time after I had spoken to you. The 19 meters, or 19 feet, 6 meters, from property lines and combustible material. The problem I'm having with that is we have a lot of lots that are not 38 feet wide. There's a lot of 35 footers, we have 30 footers. I'm wondering if 6 meters is not more than is necessary. I mean, 19 feet is roughly the distance between you and me in this room. And that seems a little bit of overkill. I don't know what the right number is, but 19 feet would prohibit a lot of lots and homeowners being allowed to have a recreational fire. They could have a cooking fire, but for some people, their cooking fire, the recreational fire becomes a cooking fire when the wood's burned down and you've got the coals. That's how we used to do it. That's a lot more than I do now. But the only problem I have with it is the 19 feet, 6 meters setback. I'm not sure that we're not prohibiting people, a lot of people from having a fire. That's my only concern. I'd like to see about, we took 4 meters, we're still back 12 feet, 15 feet.
Just to comment on that, Madam Chair, I've talked about that. We looked at other bylaws from neighboring cities. Some of them are up to 7 meters and 8 meters. So it has been lowered down. And again, what we looked at is if your lot is that small, then maybe you might have to buy a manufactured form of an outside recreational fireplace that has some lower setbacks for it. So again, that was thought about, and again, it's whatever council's wishes are.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Thomas.
I just wanted to add that when this came to corporate services, I believe that setback was actually 9 meters is where we started. And it's come back to that because we did recognize that many of the backyards in the community would not be sufficient in size. But again, as the chief said, keep in mind that this is for a dug pit, not for a wood stove or some sort of a chimney or some sort of a burning appliance. It's just for an open pit fire that setback is in place. And they do tend to be a little bit, well, maybe smokier and more intrusive when they get going on the other neighbors.
Yeah, the problem, most of the problems with fires in the city is not the danger to buildings, but rather people who try to burn, because I've had it in my own neighborhood, wet garden waste, leaves, and all that. And that stuff puts out a huge amount of smoke. And I mean, this is banning that, which is good. I'm also pleased to see that there's a ban in there on treated lumber because it has is it arsenic or cyanide? I think it's arsenic in it, which isn't really good for your health. But that's my one concern is I'd like a little less than 6 meters. I think that's the one thing. The other thing I honestly believe is some of us learned how to use wood for cooking fires. That's how I grew up. We would be out at the farm and we would use wood.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas.
I'd like to move the recommendation, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion? That carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief Barfoot. That was a lot of work. Moving on now to our manager, City Manager Wayne Ritchie. You have a recommendation on the former courthouse.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do. The subject of this report is the former jail and courthouse property. And the recommendation is that City Council accepts the report and directs that the property be listed for sale with the city's real estate agent. The city of Owen Sound has owned the former courthouse and jail for a number of years. The city has accepted 2 offers to purchase the property, and both proponents endeavored to maintain as many heritage features as they could in their repurposing of the buildings. During the conditional sale period, both purchasers found that the structures or site would not fit their needs. It is worth noting that one of these purchasers found another site in the city, and the other is still looking at options in the city. Interested parties who have toured the property comment that it would require very significant investment to bring it back to inhabitable condition. None have found a reuse that would validate the required investment. Trying one last time to sell the property as is, council can relist it with our real estate agent. I suggest a 6-month listing with the city's real estate agent, Chestnut Park Real Estate. For the 2018 budget, staff should obtain estimates to demolish various structures on the site. These estimates may be of assistance to prospective purchasers, and it will aid council to discuss some alternatives should the property not sell. It is everyone's hope that the property sells and the structures can be brought back to use, retaining many of the heritage features. Should this not occur, in fairness to area residents who have been very patient, we need to look at all options. And with that, Your Worship, I'll go back to the recommendation, which is City Council accepts the report and directs that the property be listed with the city's real estate agent.
Thank you. Councillor Dodd?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think I speak for all of us here at the table when we say we would love to see that building being repurposed to with all of its heritage designations intact. So I think this would be more than happy to move that recommendation so that way it doesn't sit vacant for too much longer. Hopefully we have some good luck with this time.
Thank you very much. Any comments, Councillor Allen?
Yeah, the one thing, you said something that bothered me a little bit, where you said demolition of certain aspects. I'm assuming that would not be the facade.
I think moving into the 2018 budget, council should debate, if we can't sell the building, what is the future of that building? And we would get estimates for various features of the building. So we would have it as detailed as we could. Council may opt to demolish the jail only. We'll have that option for you. We'll have an estimate for it. You may wish to get rid of the walls. You may wish to do something. We will have it in as much detail as we can. At the end of the day, it will be council's decision whether we move on that or we do not move on it. But we'll have as much detail as we can, various options for demolition of parts of the building.
Well, you know my feelings about preserving heritage, but with that particular site, the greatest heritage value is the facade. And maybe we have to compromise a little bit to get that site developed. If we do, we do. Better to keep part of the pie than lose the whole thing.
And we've certainly had that from staff's perspective as our mantra when we've dealt with people, and we know that's council's perspective. Certainly our hope is in the rest of this year we find someone who has a vision and finds a way to repurpose that is useful. It will, we're not trying to kid anyone. It will take a significant investment. It's tough to make those mechanics work, but we will have detailed options for council moving into 18 should we not be successful. But I certainly hope, I know council's wish is to keep that front facade. We know that. We'll do our best to make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Call the question. All those in favor of that report? Thank you. That carries. The next is just bringing this report. Okay, thank you, Brianna. This is the changes under Bill 68. Thank you.
Sorry, actually, this is the noise control bylaw exemption.
Oh, noise control bylaw.
Yep.
Thank you.
A noise control bylaw exemption request was submitted by Collier's project leaders, and council requested that prior to approving the exemption, they asked staff to contact some of the neighbors and local businesses. Since then, the contractor performing the work at the courthouse, which is Demand Construction, has submitted a revised noise bylaw exemption request. They are requesting an exemption from 7 till 10 p.m. Monday to Friday for August and September for masonry brick repair. They are unable to complete this work while court is in session. Demand Construction has confirmed that any work on Saturdays will be within the allowable times and no work will be taking place on Sunday. Also, the brickwork shouldn't be much louder than the traffic on 9th Avenue East. Various city departments were consulted and they had no issue with the request. Neighbors and businesses in the area had no issue, as long as the noise would be minimal. The recommendation in this report is that council approve the request for an exemption to the noise control bylaw as described in the report.
Thank you. Is there a mover? Councillor O'Leary.
I would move that recommendation, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. And the next report is the proposed changes under Bill 68. Mr. Ritchie.
I'll be taking that, Your Worship. Our Deputy Treasurer is fighting a nasty case of poison ivy and could not be here tonight, so I will carry on. I'm sure she's watching. The subject of this report, Your Worship had brought that up several meetings ago, proposed changes under Bill 68, out-of-court payments. The recommendation is, respecting proposed changes under Bill 68 regarding out-of-court payments, City Council supports the municipality of West Nipissing and the municipality of Killarney in their request to the Minister of Municipal Affairs to reconsider the proposed changes. Currently, the Ontario Municipal Act allows for any out-of-court payments, which are unclaimed proceeds from tax sale of properties, to be returned to the municipality. The proposed amendment would see out-of-court payments from municipal tax sales revert back to the Crown. 3 to 4 years of back taxes have typically accumulated before a property gets to the point it can be sold by the municipality. During this time, the municipality must continue to pay the levies due to the school boards and the upper tier municipalities, regardless of the non-collection of property taxes. These payments are made from the municipality's general funds. Although the tax sale clears all outstanding taxes and penalties on property, they do not cover any borrowing costs or loss of interest the municipality may have realized had they not paid the school board and the upper tier levies with non-tax dollars. The out-of-court payments help offset these expenses borne by the municipality. In my time here, Your Worship, I believe we have had one occasion where there were some unclaimed tax payments and the city did recoup those. So we're certainly thinking this is something over the long term. It could be a benefit to us, and we just don't think we should give it up.
And Mr. Ritchie, thank you very much for that report and my concern over that. Councillor Kepke.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Council was provided the report along with the 2 letters from the municipalities asking that other municipalities support this. And I further asked to read what the actual resolution said that from the municipality of Killarney. And having read that, now I am in favor and would certainly move the recommendation in the report.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. We are down to a technical report for proposed zoning bylaw. Ms. Coulter.
Thank you. This is a technical report regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment that would permit food processing facilities in the industrial areas of the city. So the report is by Scott Wilson and carries on the good work of Wyatt Raycroft, and both of them are University of Waterloo co-op students. So on April 26th, the Community Services Committee had considered an initial report and had recommended that staff initiate the formal process of the zoning bylaw amendment. Currently, the zoning bylaw does list food and meat processing as a use that's prohibited in all zones. And with more modern regulations and practices in production, the processing and manufacturing, this restriction is kind of questionable. The earlier report summarized a comparison of other urban municipalities, and certainly food and meat processing is found to be a permitted use in many municipalities. So the proposal would see the food processing facility, a definition of that, be added to the zoning bylaw, and it would be agricultural products that are assembled, graded, manufactured, prepared, processed, preserved, packaged, or stored for human consumption. It does not include an abattoir, outdoor storage, or any slaughtering of animals. It would add that use as a permitted use in the M1 and the M2 zones. So the report really provides the policy framework, which is the basis for evaluating the proposal. In terms of going forward, we had the report to Community Services Committee. The notice of public meeting was given July 28th, and that goes to all the agencies, and we'll be certainly reaching out to groups like OMAFRA and MOE to make sure that we have their input on this important issue. tonight's technical report, and then we'll have a public meeting and presentation August 21st. And after that, we'll be back to council with the summary of the public input and the agency comments with a recommendation. I would note that all the information and reports are on our website, and if you have questions, please call Scott in the planning department.
Thank you very much, Ms. Goldberg. Councillor Nevin.
Okay, I just want to, we will allow the storage and processing of meat products. We will not allow the slaughtering of animals. Why? Doesn't make sense.
The slaughtering of animals would remain a practice that would be still prohibited in all zones. Abattoir, stockyard, livestock exchange, dead stock depot would still be permitted uses. Boiling of blood, bones, or soaps for commercial purposes would also remain as prohibited. At this point, we're just adding the food production and food and meat processing facilities.
Well, I maybe it's just me, but most of us in this room eat meat. The processing plants now are completely different from the problems that were existent with the meat processor in Owensound a number of years ago. I don't agree with what we're doing. I think we have to look at the whole package, because no one's going to be processing meat in Owensound if they can't kill it. And you don't kill in Georgian Bluffs or Meaford and then bring the carcasses into Owensound to process. That isn't going to happen. So effectively what you're doing is backdooring people not to go into this whole field in Owensound.
Yes.
Perhaps if council's interested in looking at slaughterhouse as being a permitted use, we would do a subsequent report through committee. We would, we've given notice based on the direction of the committee in April regarding food and meat processing. Let this process run its course, but then put on the planning agenda the other idea around the slaughterhouses, if that's council's direction.
We're going to be doing the OP next year. And I think the OP should reflect, we are in a rural agricultural area. We produce, I think it's something over 65% of the sheep and lambs in Ontario are within the Grey Goose area. There's a large amount of beef cattle in this area, pigs. As an example, in, I think it's Walkerton, they have a chicken processing plant. It's downtown. And as an example, in 1921, we had a humongous cold storage plant downtown, and in that were fish and meat. That's two of them, and butter. We want jobs here. Let's not make it backdoor so that no meat processing plant will come to the city. If you can't kill, you can't process.
So as the Director of Community Services has stated, they'll take a look at that. Peter, is that
Yeah, I'll vote for this at this point, but I'm going to be following up on it because I don't want to see us miss jobs.
Thank you.
And every animal that's exported to Toronto or slaughtered is exporting jobs from our area.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thomas.
Councillor Dodd had his hand up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to clarify on some things. I'm just spent a wedding this past weekend with a large beef cattle farmer who owns a meat processing plant, and they do not do their own slaughter work, but the regulations coming from Health Canada, the insurance requirements, abattoirs are actually becoming something that they're offsetting because the actual work that is to take it in isn't worth it. So I just wanted to kind of share that little tidbit because I didn't realize that either. I thought they would have an abattoir in their facility as well, and that it's something they have opted out of because of the pricing, because of the conditions put on by, I guess it's not Health Canada, it'd be the food and inspection agencies. But if no one's moved this recommendation, I would currently move that recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kepke.
Just a quick question. If slaughtering were allowed, where does the waste go?
I'm not really prepared to answer that question, maybe Mr. Beckman.
I really think, Your Worship, these are all discussions that perhaps we could, a further report when we look at slaughterhouse operation is the time to debate it, as opposed to this evening where we're somewhat coming off our heels here to answer these questions for you now.
Yes, and that's another whole area that has a lot of restrictions. We've lost a lot of slaughterhouses in the county due to provincial regulations, and so it's not easy getting those things. Tom, did you have a, no, you, okay, thank you. So the motion is on the floor. All those in favor? That carries, thank you. We have Owen Sound Slow Pitch League. A report here.
Thank you. Yes, the Owen Sound Men's Slow Pitch League on August 18th to 20th is proposing to have their wrap-up tournament. It's also a qualifier for the provincial tournament in London. It will feature 45 teams. This year, Mr. Brown will be coordinating the tournament together with Ben Kirkconnell, representing another team who will run the licensed portion of the event. So that's why the report is on the open agenda. In previous years, you have designated this event as municipally significant. However, this is the first year for Mr. Kirkconnell, who will be running the licensed portion of the event. So the report includes the details around facility use as well as the licensed area. It will represent $3,200 in revenue for the city, and Mr. Kirkconnell, in accordance with the municipal significance policies, has indicated that their group will be making a donation to Safe and Sound out of that event. So the recommendation is that you would approve the use of the facilities during that weekend, approve the operation of the licensed area, and deem the event as municipally significant and authorize a bylaw to execute that agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Coulter. Moved by Councillor Lemon. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. We have a verbal report from the Director of Public Works and Engineering. Read the amendment of the funding agreement with the province wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Becky.
Thank you, Your Worship. As Council will recall, a funding agreement was entered into with the province of Ontario and the federal government for cost sharing on the wastewater treatment plant. The federal agreement extends itself into well into 2018 and does not represent any issues at this time. However, the provincial agreement had a time limit of June 30th for eligible expenditures. We have since been able to negotiate, as Council is aware, I've informed you previously, an extension to that. The province is, however, asking for an amending agreement that will formalize the agreed upon terms to extend the contract to the 31st of October, which is well within the limits of when we expect to finish the contract. So the staff recommendation is that Council pass a bylaw at tonight's session to authorize the Mayor and Clerk to execute the amending agreement, which will extend the time limit for eligible expenditures to December 31 of this year.
Okay. Everybody, Councillor Greg.
No questions, so moved.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Mr. Beck, remember this, we all know what this is. All those in favor? That carries, thank you. The next is a verbal report from myself on the County Council. Council's you're probably all aware now that there is a motion afoot from the county to go to elect the warden county-wide. This has to be a report that will come from the city manager after he gets, or the clerk, after they get instructions from the county. Now that's not going to happen overnight. It takes quite a while. But what happens is 2/3 of the municipalities have to support this. Otherwise it doesn't go forward. So out of the 9 municipalities, 6 have to support the election of a warden for the entire county, and that would be for 4 years, which would put 19 people basically on county council for the next term. Let me see. We went through the report on the Integrity Commissioner, which we will be going through as well. And it has been offered by the county to work with the municipalities to perhaps get one integrity commissioner and share among all the municipalities. So there will be in touch with you as well, with Brianna as well over that. You see, as of May 31st, Service Ontario here in Owen Sound is collecting fines from people who have not paid traffic fines over the years, going back, I believe, to 2007, and are applying for their vehicle licenses. They will not be issued their licenses until they pay their fines. And those are now being paid through Service Ontario, which the county will recoup, and perhaps the city will recoup some of that money. And at this time, the county is looking at a $572,000 surplus for 2017. So that's my report. Any questions? Okay, being none? Yes.
Two-thirds of the municipalities must agree to go to a countywide election. Is there any size? Does that two-thirds have to represent at least two-thirds of the assessment, or just the municipality?
No, just two-thirds. This council has to approve it. We have to, by motion, we have to approve that, and that has to go back to the county.
So we'll have more information on that.
I would now call on pardon me, yes?
I have a further question on the election of an warden at large. So would this individual not even be on a municipal council?
Yes, they would not be on a municipal council.
And the election would be held at the same time the municipal elections would be held?
That's right. So in the city of Owen Sound, you would vote for a mayor, a deputy, councillors, plus a warden.
Plus your school board. Yeah. But, so the person running for warden of Grey County, all those names are the same names on each municipality's ballot?
Yes.
That would be awkward to, yeah, okay, thanks.
It's being done in a number of municipalities, but in a single tier, that's how they elect their council. Not yet. Now, verbal report from Councillor Kefke for
Thank you.
2017.
Highlights from August the 1st to August 21st. Friday, August the 4th is 50's First Friday in downtown, featuring a classic car show with lots of other activities at participating restaurants and shops. Fridays at 8:30 p.m. at Harrison Park, take in the music and movies series. Evening starts with an up-and-coming musical act followed by a movie. On the 4th of August, we'll feature the Lego Batman movie. On the 11th, we'll feature The Croods. Friday to Sunday, August 4, 5, and 6, the 155th Emancipation Festival will take place at Harrison Park. Friday evenings, beginning with the Speakers Forum at the Roxy at 6:30 p.m., Lawrence Hill, author of the Book of Negroes and other works. So that's part of the Emancipation Festival. Saturday, August 5th at the Harmony Centre at 2 p.m. celebrates the 140th birthday anniversary of the iconic Canadian artist Tom Thomson with a special Tom Talk, where a panel will explore who Tom Thomson was and how he and his mysterious death and his art will continue to impact the Canadian culture and artistic landscape. TD Harbour Nights continue on Sundays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. at the back of the Community Waterfront Heritage Centre. Upcoming musical entertainment is Sunday, August 6th, featuring Bobby Dean Blackburn, Wednesday, August 9th, featuring Morale Marie Trio, and Sunday, August 13th, featuring the Piper Hayes Duo. Tuesday, August 8th through Thursday, August 10th, the Grey Bruce Kennel and Obedience Club present their annual dog show at Harrison Park. Wednesday, August 9th, the Billy Bishop Home and Museum will host a Victorian tea at 12 noon. And every Sunday in August, the Billy Bishop Home and Museum features a ghost walk that focuses on history of Owen Sound. Friday, August 18th through Sunday, August 19th. Sorry, that's wrong, 20th. Kelso Beach Park take in the 42nd Summer Folk Music and Craft Festival, hosted by the Georgian Bay Folk Society. And you heard tonight as well, there's the ball tournament, the Owen Sound Men's Slow Pitch Annual Playoff Tournament that same weekend. Next regular council meeting is Monday, August 21st at 7 p.m. So lots of activities still continue. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now down to the consent agenda.
Yes, to you, Madam Chair. On the consent agenda this evening is a report respecting Owen Sound Agricultural Society's request to operate a licensed event at Victoria Park, a report respecting a revised date for the 2017 Owen Sound Rib Fest, planning notice for Meaford, Kingdom Child Care Center at 365 14th Street West received its business license, and there is correspondence received which is presented for the information of council. A full listing is available at 11B5.
Thank you. Councillor Dodd.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself that City Council hereby receives items 11B1 to 11B5 on the consent agenda dated July 31st, 2017, and further that the recommendations contained in reports 11B1 to 11B2 be approved.
Thank you. Any comments? All those in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. There are no minutes there to be approved. Read down to minutes of boards and committees for approval. The first is Community Services. Councillor Dodd.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we had a rather quick meeting. This was our in-between meeting for the summer. So first off, we had a report presented by the manager of property regarding some new public art that's going to be for display here at the Harry Lumley Bayshore. There's two projects that are being proposed for installation at the Bayshore here. First project is a mural displaying entitled Northern Lights, and it will consist of 4 sheets of plywood. There is pictures within our report, and it's going to look fantastic. So this is going to be actually up on the north wall and the west stairwell leading to the concourse on the Bayshore. The second project is a photography show titled Be Our Ally, which promotes the message of inclusion and standing up for the LGBTQ youth. So the proposed location for the display is going to be on the first floor, West Hall, leading towards the media rooms at the Bayshore, and they will be displayed from November 1st to December 31st. We received a report from the junior planner, Justin, regarding some of the heritage permits that have been issued. We have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We received another report from Justin as well from the junior planner regarding some of the heritage property tax relief program. What we basically on this relief program is what for heritage designated buildings, the city provides a rebate of up to 20%, I believe, for eligible applicants on their municipal and educational portions of their property taxes. So far, we have given a proportion of $13,393, and we have budget for $15,000. The purpose of this is to encourage owners of designated properties to make regular investments in their ongoing maintenance to ensure that the city's built heritage assets are conserved for the long-term benefit of all residents. Councillor McManaman made a subsequent motion after this requesting that we send a letter to the County of Grey to see if we can get some participation from the County of Grey as well regarding this tax relief program, to see if we can get some relief on the taxes from the county portion. We had a report regarding our Doors Open event, which was a huge success this year. Visitor attendance for the 17 participating sites reached 3,067, which is a record for the last 3 years. Some of the thoughts of the reasons of why numbers were up were based on just some of the building or some of the spaces that were open hadn't been open for quite some time. So I think they drew some really good support from the community. So next year's Doors Open theme is entitled Equality in a Fair Society. I think everyone's open. If there's anyone has a good idea of what a site would be perfect, then you should definitely contact Stacey Alderton. I'm sure we'd probably love to hear that call. Finally, we also got a report from our junior planner regarding Bill 131, which is a review of the proposed Building Better Communities and Conserving Watersheds Act. And I'm going to lead this off to Ms. Coulter, as she's going to be a little more educated on this than myself.
Thank you. So just a few brief comments on Bill 139. In May, the government announced that they would overhaul the land use planning appeal system and replace the Ontario Municipal Board with the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. So comments are due by August 14th. The local planning appeal tribunal will still be independent and arm's length from government, and it will still be at the provincial level. In terms of the biggest changes, appeals will now be only allowed where council's decision meets or fails to meet one of the 3 conformity tests. So the first is it inconsistent with a policy statement issued by the province? Does it fail to conform or conflict with a provincial plan, for example, the Niagara Escarpment Plan? And in the case of a lower tier plan, does it fail to conform with the upper tier plan? So for example, in Owen Sound, did it fail to conform with the county OP? So if it failed any of those tests, the appeal would be eliminated. Hearings themselves will be conducted quite differently than they are today. There'll be mandatory case management conferences. There'll be statutory rules for hearing conduct, and there'll be strict timelines on limits. Oral hearings and evidence and cross-examination will become, for the most part, a thing of the past, and most evidence will be submitted through the board in a written form. There's certain matters that will be now not subject to appeal, like provincial approvals of an official plan. There'll be the creation of a local planning appeal support center, so that will be designed to help and make the appeal process more accessible to the public by providing free information and support to citizens. The city really experiences very few appeals to the board, and going forward, we hope this certainly won't be increased by the proposed changes. The reasons that you can appeal something will be greatly limited, and we're anticipating, and we really won't know till it happens, that it perhaps will even reduce the number of appeals that is seen by the city. We're thinking that the changes in how hearings happen will make these hearings more affordable and see a reduction in legal fees and staff time that would be dedicated to a hearing. So the recommendation in that was just that the committee would receive the report, and that the staff comments would be submitted through that Environmental Bill of Rights process before the deadline.
Thank you, Pam. And finally, we had one other piece of business that came up from a committee member regarding the pathway on the trail leading into the Kiwanis Soccer Complex. For those who use their bicycles and potentially have a trailer with their children in the back, they may recognize that there's a rock that's blocking the trail to prohibit certain accesses from motorized vehicles to go down there. The one issue that has been brought up that for individuals to try to get through the trail is that they physically have to get off the bike, pick up the trailer, and move it over the rock in order to continue on the trail. So that's something that Ms. Coulter had advised the staff we're going to look into possibly installing a P-gate, which still would restrict the access for motorized vehicles, but be a little bit more easier for individuals to use our trail system. And after that, I would move acceptance and approval of.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Gregg.
Just one little thing. It's not noted that whether Mayor Boddy was at the meeting or absent from the meeting in the minutes. I don't think he was there from memory, but I just wonder if the minutes can be adjusted for that.
Mayor Boddy was absent from that meeting.
Anything else? Councillor Newman.
Yeah, the appeals group, are they going to be appointed by the province?
Or the question was funded by the province?
No, are they going to be appointed by the province?
My understanding is, yes, they would still be appointed by the province in arm's length.
Okay. That worries me.
Anything further? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to receive, thank you. Now, moving on to the Operations Committee. This was a special committee that the Operations Committee held on a Friday morning, and this was to listen to the concerns over the 10th Street corridor from the DIA. It was an excellent meeting. It was 2 hours in length, and I believe that the committee listened to everyone have their say, and a result of that was that there were some considerations made by the committee as a result of what they heard, and those are set there, that the presentation discussions between operations and the DIA, that staff bring forth a new report, and that new report will be coming to operations again before it comes back to council. So with that, pardon me?
I'll also go to the DIA.
Oh, the DIA will have a copy of the report and the minutes, yes. I'll move, no, I can't do that. So would somebody please, Councillor O'Leary, for that, Chair?
Sure, I would so moved.
Thank you. All those in favor of receipt of those? Thank you, that carries. We are down to other business, and I will call on our Director of, Mr. Backing first, please. You have a report on your...
Thank you, Your Worship. This matter came before Operations Committee at its meeting of Thursday of last week, and it is of a time-sensitive nature, hence the reason why it's before you this evening. You'll recall that Council gave the City Manager a mandate to seek out partnerships with various groups and organizations within the community to, in an effort to strengthen our relationships with our partners and to broaden our reach in terms of supporting the community. One initiative was between the City Manager and the Principal of the college. And one of the initiatives that were identified in the discussion had to do with the potential of enhancing service to the college on our public transit system for the students. He then turned it over to me to sort of try and seal the deal, as it were. And working with the college staff, we've come up with an arrangement or a proposal whereby we will offer free bus service to students of the college for the month of September. The idea being that we want to encourage students to utilize the bus service and to see how it will be very convenient for them to use the service, and then to follow that up with a reduced cost bus pass for the balance of the school year in order to entice them. The break-even point being about a 50% increase in ridership, which currently rests at about 52 students for the season on a monthly average basis. The financial impact of this, if we hit the break-even point, is a very small net loss, which we would chalk up as a promotional expense. Committee considered the matter and agreed with the proposal, subject to the proviso, two provisos. In fact, that one, the whole matter be, or the whole proposal be extended to all students within the city, and secondly, that the initiative be reviewed and evaluated in December, so that if the committee and council wish to extend it into the second term, that they could do so. So on that basis, Your Worship, the recommendation from Operations Committee is that council approve of the initiative, which would involve free bus passes to all students in the city for the month of September, followed by the issuance of reduced cost bus passes at a rate of $30 per pass upon the provision of a student pass at the time of purchase, or a student card rather at the time of purchase, so as to ensure that the students are actually benefiting from it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Thomas?
Sorry, Mr. Becking, you said all students in the city. Did you mean all college students in the city?
Your Worship, no. The direction of the committee was that it was for all students who utilize services. There is a relatively small number of high school students that avail themselves of the service, as well as one or two public school students, is my understanding.
Thank you. I'm certainly happy to move this recommendation. Anything we can do to increase the ridership on the buses is great, and anything we can do to create more partnerships is even greater. So I'm happy to move that.
Thank you. Councillor Craig?
I might just mention that at the committee, it was moved and carried by Councillor O'Leary, and there was a friendly amendment just added that there'll be a subsequent report come forward in December to review the success of the trial. So if you would just add that maybe to your motion, that's just truly reflecting the motion that carried at committee.
That's fine with me. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Lemon?
I think this is absolutely fantastic. When I was at Queen's, we got a bus pass. We registered. It was included in our tuition. Many colleges and universities do this. It's a way of inducing people to use it. I don't think the loss is going to be as great as the report says. I think in the end, we will get people now using our system rather than alternatives, and by making it affordable, we're ending up probably at the end of it with more revenue, more people using the service.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. Councillor Kepke?
Thank you, Worship. Just a gentle reminder to people in the city of Owen Sound to lock your car doors when it's in your driveway, because there's been a lot of break-ins happening in the night. So just a reminder.
Thank you. Councillor Lemon?
Yes, Your Worship. I've sent copies of this to council, but it appears that some of our things on our heritage are in the archives of the American Congress in the United States. I've since gone back in there and found other materials, particularly pertaining to temperance and the temperance movement. It's really fascinating how much of our history is also in American sources. Originally, when we were doing our research on Owen Sound, we were confining it to Ontario and Canadian. But you can imagine the shock on my face when I got an email from someone containing reference to this site. I went to the site, and there it was, Owen Sound, 1921 with the Board of Trade. Fascinating. And the pictures, there are pictures in there that I've never seen before. And one of them being a huge cold storage plant in downtown Owen Sound. It was operated by a firm called Lemon Brothers. Not that I would know anything about that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dodd.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just received an email, and I just was hoping, I know it's late into the, to add an additional item in here, but we have Jonathan Wardrobe, who is a Special Olympian, who's be visiting in Winnipeg, Manitoba for the Canada Summer Special Olympic Games of 2017, and he's there watching his brother Matt Wardrobe to do, he's participating in the under 21 men's baseball game. So I just wanted to make a shout out. He asked that we could say his name on council. So Jonathan, we wish the best of luck to your brother, and we appreciate everything that you do and all the athletes and coaches and the other 5,500 volunteers that are at that camp today. So
very nice. Thank you for that. That's very interesting. Thank you. So now we have a motion, please, Councillor Dodd.
Moved by myself that the committee rise and report.
Thank you. All in favor? That carries. Councillor Dodd?
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Thomas, that the action taken in committee of the whole in considering public meetings, deputations, public question period, matters arising from correspondence, reports, matters tabled, motions for which notice was previously given, and other business be confirmed by this council.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion carries. Are there any notices of motion tonight? There being none. New business rising by resolution. There is no new business. Bylaws, please.
Yes, to you, the bylaws listed for approval on tonight's agenda include the confirmatory bylaw, a bylaw to execute an operating agreement with MacArthur Carrick Properties respecting a leash-free dog park, A bylaw to amend the off-leash dog park areas bylaw to replace Schedule B rules of use. A bylaw to execute a site plan agreement with Lincoln Park Holdings respecting 1300 20th Street East. Bylaw to execute a certificate of exemption for Center Suites located at 945 3rd Ave East. Bylaw to execute an agreement with Harold Sutherland Construction respecting asphalt resurfacing. Bylaw to execute a facility use agreement with Steve Brown and Ben Kirkconnell for the men's slopage tournament. A bylaw to execute an acknowledgement and direction to effect the transfer of a drainage and access easement for Barry's Construction for 1711 9th Ave East. A bylaw to execute an acknowledgement and direction to effect the transfer of lands from Barry's Construction for road widening and site triangle purposes along 9th Avenue East and 17th Street East. And finally, a bylaw to execute an amending agreement with the Minister of Rural Affairs respecting the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Thomas, that bylaw numbers 2017-129 through to 2017-138 be passed into effect.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion carries. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.